I want to say thank you to all of my Patreon supporters who help support the channel. Also, I want to say thank you to my Twitch subscribers. Help the channel out by donating or go to patreon.com. Thank you. So, over the weekend, Sunday, I had some fun on the internet. I released the response to old Reese Poo, and I woke up on Twitter and chose violence. All right, so serious note. One of the things that actually happened over the weekend was that we saw the release of what happened with the execution in Memphis, where 5 cops beat a man to death. And it wasn't pretty. And we have a lot of work to do in this society. We just have a lot of work to do. And one of those things is reform how we have peace officers. Now, I am someone who believes that the current system of policing that we have in this country is fucked up. And not only is it fucked up, but we have to do a rewrite just of law enforcement and protecting people. And the video in Memphis, I want to be very, very clear. That is not the exception. That is a rule. That is a rule. And I get why people are upset. Hello, my skin affliction allows me to understand in a lot of detailed ways of why policing in America is so fucked up. But I also am somebody who is a motherfucking leftist. And I know that the people that have leftist views, we may be 5-10% of the population. And I mean, addressing police brutality, addressing the economic system in a way that the way that we offer prescriptions. Let's just check some studies. Number of people that identify as leftists. So, let's see. Do we have, what's the number of people that identify as leftists? Let's see if we can actually find it in Gallup. As far as 2020 goes, just like leftists, and Gallup didn't have it. But a lot of people will want to consider themselves centrists. And when we have people who are quote unquote leftists and they're cutting out a large portion of people all because of their pre-existing racist ass beliefs, it makes us look fucking stupid. that leads me to a video with friend of the channel, our good friend, FD Signifier. Let's see what he talks about.
Specific.
Now, I want to say this. Do you know this motherfucker literally says on one of his streams that there are people who stream capture me and they record my videos when I do live streams? Motherfucker, if I'm that fucking rooted in your mind that you're mad because people record your motherfucking streams while you doing live streams and says shit that's objectable, then I'm doing my motherfucking job. But let's go.
Specifically, and I already seen it in the chat. I want to start kind of talking about the unfortunate, what's the word I'm looking for, reputation that, you know, Pan-Africanism and Black nationalism has in the online left, partially because of the general absence of Black voices, partially because of how certain...
No, there are Black voices. Don't get me wrong. There are a ton of different Black voices online. It's just that a lot of you fuckers seem to be part of that, oh, let's shit on white leftists, even though we need them to do the movement. You dumb fuck. I'm sorry. I'm giving away the game. But let's go.
Images of Black political movements are more algorithmically viable and I want to say celebrated, infamous. I don't know what the word I want to use is, but you know what I'm talking about. Like there's certain images, certain figures, certain people that when it's time to talk about Black political identities and ideologies, certain figures want to promote Umar Johnson, Black Hammer, etc. These become the images of what Black radical politics have been on the left.
Nobody says Umar is left. I'm sorry. Oh, nobody says Umar is left. Only a motherfucker like yourself would feel like Umar is left. You know why? Because you're falling into the trap of thinking just because somebody is a person of color, just because somebody is not straight, then they automatically have to be on the left. That's not how this works. Your identity does not dictate your political ideology. Just because it's a woman talking about MRA shit doesn't mean that she's on man's side or she's on the left. Just because you ignorant motherfucker, sit back and say, oh, Black politics and Black politics, you are the same one that equated Blackness to being poor. That sounds like a conservative talking point. Motherfucker. Oh, okay, let's go.
Quaker Grits is $20 million a year off Black folks. Quaker Grits. Can I have your grit money for 1 year? Give me your grit money for 1 year and I will build 10 schools across this country.
Motherfucker, you got money? Wow. And this Umar is a grifter. He's had $1 million. Just $1 million. And he's never been one to just be like, and we've watched Umar videos on this channel. He is not somebody who believes in leftism. He believes in cold, hard capitalism. And you notice he's not addressing that. FD is not addressing that. He's not addressing the stereotype, or not stereotype, the archetype of just the patriarchy that Umar promotes. But let's continue.
Give me your grits. Give me your Quaker Grits. No more grits. Give me your grit money.
Which has contributed to a lot of harm in a lot of different ways. And so I know you're not like, so I don't want to put Drew on the spot. Drew is not like the king expert on everything, but I feel like his perspective is useful. So like, what is your perception of that? And what has been your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main issue is that, well, it's a lot of different things, right? First and foremost, of course, the education system around the world, really.
ironically, this is the actual one that I was watching and he said that bullshit. All right, let's go.
Does not do a good job of teaching history. You don't tend to get a good historical education until you reach like the upper echelons of academia and whatnot.
You got to get a master's degree.
Yeah. Because history is not something that is neutral. It's not something that's subjective, right? History is about interpretation of the sources. It's about what you choose to focus on, what you choose to highlight, what you choose to...
See, this is what I'm talking about. And I haven't watched Andrewism or something of that nature. But address the fucking point that you're trying to make sure that we talk about. Instead of saying that, oh, you don't know history, you need to get a master's degrees, which it's all type of, if you want to address it in leftism, is all type of fucking classes. That's literally just like, and where is FD's videos of talking about these revolutionaries? No, he talks about theory. And some of the people that he promotes in the theory are not people who says, hey, let's all work together to actually address particular things. I've watched his back catalog, and yes, great, it's some good videos in it, but it's never in the sense of let's all work together to resolve it. It's let me just take care of my one group, which ironically sounds a lot like Umar. I don't get this shit. It's almost as if you're wearing your leftism as a fucking mark of pride. All right, take care, Joe. If you're wearing it as a sense of this is who I am as a leftist, why are you only concerned about one identity? And that's the problem. This is why I say people like FD are fake leftists. They only use leftism as an aesthetic to what they want to really say. But let's go.
Low light or to ignore. All that results in, and it's intentional, but it results in a population that is woefully misinformed about, their history. And I'm speaking worldwide, I'm not speaking specific to the American context, because it happens everywhere. It happens slightly differently in different places, but the general trend is towards sort of a veneration of great men and great figures, ignorance or denigration of the masses and their involvement, and a very specific Western-centric focus. And that leads into even progressive politics. I think it's almost like a cliche at this point with like, oh, well, everybody sort of brings up the Panthers, everybody brings up their breakfast programs and stuff. But I think it's a sort of a neutralization of their program and all the different things they did.
I have been aware of.
So here. Oh my God. The fact is that you bring up the Black Panthers breakfast program in a derogatory light and say, well, yeah, they're just talking about this. Do you understand the greatness of what that program did? The fact that they took kids from all over the city of Chicago. The only prerequisite is that you were a kid and was poor. It didn't matter if you were Black, it didn't matter if you were white, it didn't matter if you were Hispanic. Only thing is you're a kid, you're hungry, and let's feed you. And that led to the national motherfucking free breakfast program for kids. And you belittle it in such a small way. Lets me know that it's not about results. It's not about helping the largest amount of people. It's about, well, they're just using it as a signal to say that, oh, look, we're doing something. That is one of the single greatest accomplishments that the Black Panthers have actually had. And you minimize it. You minimize it to say like, oh yeah, they're just using that as a shield. Help millions of kids. Not just in one city, but a program that is used as a blueprint, as a spiritual blueprint across the country to make sure children have food in their bodies to start a school day, and you minimize it. Let's continue.
The Black Panthers my whole life, but for most of my life, I wasn't aware that the Black Panthers were socialists, Marxist Leninists to be specific. And even in
they can be wrong about something. Like, let's be honest. MLs are not the best things in the world. And yeah, they were socialists. They actually said, like, this is the stupidity that I'm talking about. This is the stupidity that I'm talking about. This shit right here. How do you not know that? But you missed the blackity black. Black culture this, black culture that. But you don't know that? Let's continue.
The movie that came out just a year or two ago, it's very clear that there was whitewashing isn't the wrong word. What's the word I want to use? A sanitation of that aspect of their story.
And next thing you know, he's gonna say he didn't know King had socialist beliefs. I don't know. I just like okay, yeah, sure.
In that film, which is still very much a radical, a film about a radical to an extent, but they didn't bring that to the forefront. They didn't bring to the forefront the political underpinnings of that movement, and that, along with being a community minded engagement organization that also was high on education, they were also dangerous to the status quo.
Why were they dangerous to the status quo? Why were they dangerous to the status quo? I bet you won't bring it up.
But you can also say Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, whose birthday we just celebrated here in the States, and then just worldwide, the stories that were not told at all. Once they're told, they're sanitized through the filters of, here's what parts of that story we want to.
Why were they sanitized? What part of their stories were sanitized?
Enter into the mainstream, and here are the parts that we're going to leave out. And so I mentioned how there is multiple Black Panther movies, including the one just a couple of years ago, that really kind of subterfuge and leave out the aspect of socialism from who they were. The Marxist-Leninist underpinnings to their movement and the radical underpinnings to their movement, just kind of leaving the commodifiable fashion of radicalism,
Yeah.
And Othello says no Hollywood movie is ever going to tell the full story about us, which is very true. And you were kind of getting at the same thing.
Yeah. It's really, history is his story, whose story or their story, by nature of telling us.
So, this is the shit that I'm talking about. So, here, let's do this. Let's see if I have it. I know I did a video not too long ago, but this is what really, really fucking sucks about people that don't want to address anything. This is why I hate people like FD Signifier. And hate is a strong word, but I hate the messages they put out because they never address anything. They ironically put out in their own way the same type of message of limiting or whitewashing history that they accuse others of. Martin Luther King, he in himself was somebody who just, one of the things that led to his untimely death was his speaking out against the Vietnam War. And I know that, like, oh, he had a dream, and you know, it's in the one quote that all conservatives use. It's not about the color of somebody's skin, but the content of their character. No, King was a socialist. He believed in social justice. He believed in making sure that everyone had a right to livable wages, had a right to decent education for their kids. And somebody like King, he was a problem to the status quo. And hold on, let me see if I can actually find it. It's a long speech.
Dear Dr. King.
God damn it, I wish I could find
As you know, you are on many mailing lists. Ego.
One moment.
The house shouldn't cost much more than $20,000. They would have to make out with one car. Ego. You know, economists tell us that
here.
Your automobile should not cost
this is
more.
A speech called Drum Major Instinct. And this is just some of the things that he spoke about.
More than half of your annual income. So if you make an income of $5,000, your car shouldn't cost more than about $2,500. That's just good economics. And if it's a family of two and both members of the family make $10,000, they would have to make out with one car. That would be good economics, although it's often inconvenient. But so often, haven't you seen people making $5,000 a year and driving a car that costs $6,000, and they wonder why their ends never meet? That's a fact. Now, the economists also say that your house shouldn't cost, if you're buying a house, it shouldn't cost more than twice your income. That's based on the economy and how you would make ends meet. So if you have an income of $5,000, it's kind of difficult in this society, but say it's a family with an income of $10,000, the house shouldn't cost much more than $20,000.
Now, the context of that was talking about how people have to spend sometimes more than what they make. Sometimes it's about pride. Sometimes it's about just economic things. But King's message wasn't just, oh, we need racial justice and all we need is racial justice. King saw racial justice the same way he saw economic justice. You know what he saw? He just saw fucking justice. That's what King was a rebel rouser for. They mentioned Malcolm X. Early in his life, Malcolm X was very much a separatist. That's why him and King fell the fuck out. But later, towards the end of his life, he realized, maybe this separatist shit we don't have the numbers for. And I'm just so surprised that I don't know, like you bring up the school lunch, the breakfast program. I haven't heard either one of these guys bring up Fred Hampton and his goal with the Rainbow Push Society. Or the Rainbow Push Coalition. I'm sorry. But let's go.
A story, there are going to be things that you focus on, things you leave out, which is why it's important to have a diversity of voices, to have a diversity of stories from a diversity of perspectives. Because I think it's also, when we do get our education on these subjects, when we move past the miseducation we received from state education, from public schools and whatnot, we do our own exploration. It's also easy to fall into other types of narratives about these groups. I think it's also important to be able to engage with history, not in a sense of looking for people, figures, groups to venerate or to worship or to celebrate, but more so looking to see what we can learn, what we can gain from them, from their story, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. And learning those lessons, those historical lessons, can help us be more successful in the future. But I want to digress too much into that aspect of things. I just wanted to also talk about the ways that other groups have been, left out of the story, the ways that a lot of the forces at play in our history have been painted over or whitewashed.
Like, oh my God, you had the perfect opportunity to say that, hey, we need to work together because it's more of them that want to stop us than our small group. All right, but white leftists have the problem.
The figures have been whitewashed. The people behind the figures have been invisibilized.
Coming out of that conversation about the Black Panthers, I was making the point that I grew up relatively immersed in what many would call like HOTEP, Pan-African spaces.
What? I wouldn't have known.
In Chicago, surrounded by some legends, people that were engaged with legends that I've learned some things about in the last year that I'm like, ooh, that makes me maybe makes me understand why I didn't hear and learn some things.
Yeah.
In the absence of,
mind you, he's actually opened a minute before that he was associated with the Nation of Islam. Farrakhan and all that other good bullshit. Farrakhan, the anti-Semite.
Let's talk talking about Pan-Africanism. So I know Pan-Africanism isn't all, or at least all practitioners of Pan-Africanism historically haven't been explicitly socialists, but that seems like a clear underpinning of the thought and the movement that was and is Pan-Africanism.
You know what? One of the biggest proponents of Pan-Africanism was him. Let's see. Weird. Marcus Garvey. I mean, like, if you want to actually address some things about people that pushes, Pan-Africanism, let's talk about Marcus Garvey and some of the shit that he actually did once he got into power, because it was about an aesthetic to him that he used to become effectively a fascist. I'm just saying, like, I don't know what else to say. Like, it's almost as if people who use a group as their aesthetic may have some alternative means behind them. I don't know, say like somebody that uses a term Marxist-Leninist that may have ruled the Soviet Union and named Joseph, I forgot what Joseph's last name, kill him, murder him, Stalin, or, Mao Zedong, people that use leftism or quote unquote leftism as a way of, I don't know, justify killing their political enemies. Okay, yeah, let's go.
Up until recently, at least in the States, where we have now these caricatures. I try not to slander some of my uncles. Too tough.
And this is one go again. I'm making a video about this motherfucker. He feels that you shouldn't criticize black people because they already get criticism. Never mind that he has no problem with criticizing, people that are not black because they deserve it some kind of way. And this is the shit that I'm talking about. If you want to actually have your movement, by all means, call people out when they're wrong. But don't just reserve criticism because, well, you don't want to make the movement look good, but criticize people that are part of your movement just because they're not part of your identity. That's stupid. That shows a bias. That plays into the right wing's framing of what people on the left do. They think that we're just as much hypocrites as they are. And I'm sorry. I'm not that type of hypocrite. But let's continue.
But these caricatures that we often make fun of, we've made fun of historically in Black spaces, that have, kept the aesthetics and maybe like leaned into aesthetics, but left the politics of socialism and left this ideology out of.
Sorry about that, guys. Let's go.
She made a statement that the status quo or capitalism or whoever we want to point to as the problem will never destroy part of a radical movement that they can make fun of, that they can make into like a gesture or an effigy of what that movement was supposed to be. So you have
So, and I know the easy dunk is talking with Sophie from Mars, and with the whole him defending DJ Mule and the circle that they run into. That's the easy layup. But don't be that caricature that they can actually offer up. I get it. Like it sucks to be seen as somebody that's put forth as somebody who the right can make fun of and capitalists can make fun of. But when you actively say, like, when you actively do shit like defend somebody who defends abusive relationships, you're literally being the caricature. When you say, hey, we're not going to talk about the bad people or bad behavior on our side, except for the people that already look like the target of people that we're against, it just makes you look small, weak, and it looks as if you're playing this as a team sport. But let's continue.
The Umar Johnsons and other, kind of cartoonish figures of Pan-Africanism. You have the image of the hippies as like weed smoking, culturally appropriating Native American, indigenous images, and you don't like realize that the Black, radical movements and what we call hippie movements were like robbing banks and, like doing real stuff, like kind of scary stuff to the status quo in the 70s. Yeah. But that part of the story has been like pulled out of the script.
The point I was going to make about...
So here's the thing. If you feel there's a lack of education of it, if you feel that it's not being heard or it's not being talked about, you have a channel with 350,000 subscribers, you dumb fuck. But you'd rather make videos talking about manospheres, ha ha ha, laughing, or you rather do talks about how white leftists are bad because reasons. Let's continue.
Pan-Africanism, and really about how it's been sort of bastardized. I think it's important in approaching it that we understand its roots. We understand like how it developed, and that is that it developed out of diasporan experience, and then later on continental experience. Because of course that sort of transatlantic slave trade occurred prior to the full colonization of Africa. You have figures like Marcus Garvey, who ended up touring through Central America into Panama and visiting and looking at our shared experiences and drawing from that. Garvey has his issues and his hiccups, but that's where
see, this is what I'm talking about. You venerize people like Marcus Garvey, but you don't talk about people like that actually promote a coming together of people. Like they mention, they mentioned the Black Panthers, but I haven't heard them mention Fred Hampton. I heard them mention people that are still alive that's promoting a overall coming together of people to make the situation better. These motherfuckers will never mention Dr. Cornel West in a light where he's talking about, hey, let's all work together to make a better place. because they're concerned with their blackness. They're black, blickety black, 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 and there's nothing wrong with that. I want to actually say that I'm black. But the fact is, if you want to keep this as an insular thing of, well, I have my community over here, I have my community over there, and yeah, we're it's like a discussion that I was having with Rico Rents. A lot of these motherfuckers just want to be right. They don't want to win. They just want to be right. They want to sit back and say, I'm right, and ooh, look at all the theory that I have. But let's continue.
That sort of Pan-African knowledge and that sort of Pan-African identity developed out of the shared experience of slavery and colonialism. And the directions that project has gone in may be flawed. I would particularly criticize the efforts to sort of create like a unified United States of Africa, for example. But the root of it, the core of it, is about solidarity through that shared experience, and I don't think that should be lost.
Yeah. And that's
I think it has been lost by certain elements, bots or otherwise, on the internet, which you already know how I feel about that particular group.
Yes. These Pan-African aesthetics have been attached to anti-African movements, which is like anti-African sensibilities on so many.
They don't get it. They don't understand. They don't understand that, no, it's not a Pan-African movement. It's just nationalism and tribalism that a lot of this stems from. They don't get it. They don't fucking get it. Anytime you say that our group, we need to build up our group in order to take on the other group, that's fucking tribalism. Idiots like goddamn FD don't see that. But it's when it's us that decides it. When it's us, it's our group. No, our group is right, but every other group is wrong. You know what? I'm done with this. This is sickening because he can't see it, and this is what I'm talking about. You want to actually sit back and promote that, we need to move to this particular type of system. We need to get rid of these injustices. But you don't want to include other people that's going to actually help make sure that those injustices go away. Not just for the reason of saying that you're right, because it helps everybody. And even if you want to have a selfish reasons, I want more people on my side because I want to win. I don't just want to say, I have my principles and let me rest here right on this thing called laurels. It doesn't work that way. And you want to be very fucking honest and like, I'm going to tell you guys this. I know to all my socialist LARPers out there, there's not going to be a revolution anytime soon. I know. It's like we live in a country where we have this thing called the U.S. military. You know, the thing you fucking hate. The thing that always does bad across the world, no matter what they do. They breed, the thing that you call the U.S. military or walking demons. They have these things called, I don't know, big, bulky and shit. They have things called tanks. We are not living in the 19th century where the peasants can cause a revolution. They have tanks. And you know what? If they don't feel like sending tanks in, they have fucking drones. You fucking leftist LARPers who think, I'm going to take over we're going to start a revolution. The material conditions, I know you've heard that word in Marx, have changed. I'm going to put it plainly. You know how you see those right-wing militias that say they're going to take over the government and you laugh at them because, they're stupid rednecks and they drink beer in a forest and they think they're hunting pigs or the same thing as hunting people from the government, like literally hunting pigs. You know how you laugh at them? You're not doing any better being a keyboard fucking warrior. It takes more than just a handful of people to take over and change a system. See January 6th. This is my plea to everybody who wants to itemize the left. If you think that there are certain groups of people that aren't helpful, say, I like your opinion. Yes, and let's do this part of how far you want to go and work on my part. But stop with this bullshit of, oh, white leftists are only obsessed with HOTEPs. When you clearly said that you were around HOTEPs when you were younger. I don't know what else to say. Other than like the video, subscribe. You can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Yeah. Thank you for watching this clip, and we're going to just cut this here.
If I gave myself the power, where would